voice trails away on the draft of the dawn wind. You remember the place. I set out to meet him at Forge Farm. It was marked as near a church on the bit of map we had. Little symbols and dotted lines, faint colours, the feeling of an omen weighing into my chest. Absurd in the countryside, in the land of constant green, the dreamy summer weather and still air, woodland making dry silhouettes on the far side of the bank, the road just withers beyond. The first person we saw for hours passed by in a lorry as we waved from the edge of the hard-baked road. A miniature weir foamed and we thought of Forge Farm. I felt like the volunteer for a serious, nervous breakdown, walking like a crimson amoeba going over these ghost roads to where they might end. Between the dwindling tracks, it was no longer remarkable countryside. The last lorry moved off down the withered nettles and all kinds of life were beginning their autumn song. The soft, weary whisper of feet on the road. Working our way up a steep track cut into the hillside. We were silent for some time. Taylor decided to speak. There is only one challenge for which we in the West find ourselves totally unprepared, he said. An era of peace. Washed out and skinny, there is something distant about him, as if he holds a vital part of himself in reserve, remote and wild as the mountains. I try to touch it. It might break, actually shatter like glass in my hands. The man in charge of our meagre column advises that we rest. No one disputes it. The summer sun set at last. I slept under an old duffel coat, not relishing the night ahead, and I dreamt of a warm berth, clean sheets, someplace safe. At 2 a.m. it rained, a cold, pelting rain. I huddled under the coat and tried to imagine tropical nights, heavy with the scent of flowers, Hawaiian music and the sound of a woman's laughter in my ears. I woke to see the light spreading through the trees, falling warm on my face. For breakfast, the mate cooked tinned sausages and made butter and jam sandwiches. He boiled a pan for the tea, cursing his days of idleness. Some talk of wives at home, listening for news or perhaps hoping for a song, sad reminders drawing the absence in near. My first good meal in weeks, I gagged on the first mouthful. I forced it down and chased it back with hot tea. Gibson rolled me a cigarette. I am uncertain about the route ahead. In the end, the allure of the unknown is all that guides me onwards. Power lines sag and vanish over absent hedges. Birds call invisibly. Only the road can be sure of where it is going or where it went. Another bad omen. We take a lift from a passing lorry, free from its load after delivering food parcels. The lorry skids on loose shell and the driver loses control. The stub of an overhanging tree branch shatters the windscreen, and the driver is left with a face full of glass. The lads in the back were unharmed but shaken. Very trying. We took tea in the doorway of a clapboard house. Caught in this shadowland between speculation and proof. Taylor is getting more mystic. He sidles over to me and says, "You're starting to fade like them," before walking away. I feel touchy, my teeth grind, the sinews in my cheeks twitch. I want to say something, but pride and social ineptitude gets in my way. I have no words to dispel a comment like that, which is worse because then I think it might be true. Johnson lightens my mood by opening a satchel and handing me a book. "Read this, Smithy. It'll take your mind off your own thoughts." Hit by this sudden wave of childhood and my father's library, the look of hundreds of leather-bound books, the smell of old yellow pages, the occasional strange inscription in a calligraphic hand on the first page. A good book is not read, it reads you, says Clegg as I dip in, flicking through the pages. It knows exactly what you will bring to it and precisely what you will take away. Think of the Bible. God wrote nothing. Man did. Man knows his lot. Clegg is crooked as a crone's finger. To his credit, he sounds quite the authority on the printing revolution Christians outgunned. People want stories to be true, he continues. They want them to speak in the language of mystic signs and portents, and this mighty force surrounding our globe. I look at him exit genuine small measures of human neglect. I would gladly see him dance on an amputated foot in an infernal forest fire. I'm ill. I feel sad and withered like old fruit. The eerie moan from an aircraft in the distance brings us round. I slip Johnson's book inside my coat and reach for my firearm. Fingers on triggers, each of us assumes our position with eyes on the sky, ready to dispatch him some flak. The noise was a decoy. Gunfire cuts hard into us from the right flank. Bennett takes one in the shoulder and drops to his knees. The rest of us scramble for cover as a return volley of shots and ricochets whiz into the scrub where the attack came from. Snipers hid in the dry grass. They must have been trailing us for some time. Suddenly I see a vision. The look of the first man I saw die up close. Almost in slow motion I saw the bullet ease into his face, and then half of his face disappeared, and left the look of the worst parts I'd seen of an abattoir. My nerves wind up tight like copper springs, my senses on high alert, and everything looks sharp and clear. Johnson says he is going mad and springs to his feet, spraying bullets into the scrub. A line of bullets smash back from the scrub across his chest like a savage steel whip. I feel the book turn cold in my coat pocket, hit with a sudden wave of deep and unholy depression. The crew edges over a grass bank to gain better sights, Taylor dragging Bennett by the good arm. The order is to make for a dry ditch further along the bank to lure the snipers out and conduct the attack. I glance at my pocket watch and wonder if death must be hiding in the next town. All the while, Clegg has not fired a single charge. In combat, he has eyes like a bird of prey and the poisoned patience of a scorpion. The man is a master shot. He positions himself quietly, waiting for the snipers to make a move. An hour passes. He takes 4 bullets to take the 4 men out. Soon a volatile grey wind comes up and we have to move out into the country. The sundown is spectacular, full of vibrating colours, and darkness floods out the last of an orchid sky. By night from our woodland camp, the field, immense in its solitude, is swept over with dazzling moonlight. It is our ultimate destiny to live among the stars. Bad dreams. Horses driven wild by the howling winds, babies wailing, dogs in a cacophony of growls and screams. I have to save the little ones, carry them and set them free. The fire is coming, the fury of the worst storms, but my arms are tired and numb. I can't reach them. I reach out and can't get there in time. Meek cries of inhuman anguish squeezed out like the slow puncture from a giant balloon. The awful noise hits me in the center of the chest and I wake up shouting, flailing my arms. Will we ever find Forge Farm? Bennett survives the autumn, but his arm is turning septic. He has resigned himself to the fact it will have to be amputated, and he will never play cricket again. Autumn came and went in a flurry of wind-blown leaves and hard morning frosts, the aching smear of red and golden colours. Winter sets in, cruel and unforgiving. Bitterly cold, the scene uneasily quiet. Winter always makes me think of sitting around the fireplace at home, my father's pipe smoke and his adventurous tales. Along the route we pick up another crew member, Morris, who adds distinct liveliness to the scene. His sense of fun and humour is boundless. Just the spark of morale we needed at an all-time low. Only Clegg despises him for his popularity. He waves him away like a fly. I can tell the two deeply respect each other. Words neither might ever come to say. Light fall of snow crystals up till midnight covering the white dogs. Dawn through patches of sparkling crystals over a stretch of frozen water. A thin cold mist was rising on the meadow. Wind terrific on the summits. Outside the dogs are true and hostile. Snow on broken buildings, uneasily quiet. Then thunder crashes as the sky vomits hot burning blood and destruction. We stand there in black metal rain and listen to murder speak quietly from an empty place. Inside I feel bad, turned to the core of myself. I am past the post of looking for answers anymore. I picture that place in my mind and tell myself I have to push on. Machine-twisted limbs and burnt faces find a roaring blizzard in the hungry, cold, wet and miserable camp. Brave souls, we last this stupidity indefinitely. I am unsightly and lamentable in the days when only true force can be prized. What kind of nation can we make of tomorrow? Exhausted creatures, emptied of blood, emptied of thought, and crushed by superhuman fatigue. Victory will be almost indistinguishable from defeat. I do not think we can hope for any better things from protest or sustained revolt against reality. I get weaker and weaker. Words come like phlegm down the front of my chest. It all seems devastating pity, and we might never find Forge Farm. Then a huge crash and a serene moment of quietude. Everything moving very slow in a white blur. Men flow back and forth like grey streaks, puppets swung around by their string. I'm conscious of being very badly hurt and impeded, ghostly jagged ruins catching the snow on my face. Sweet voices and angelic remains. The place where I waited for you all day in the rain. I've no idea how to walk the few yards towards you without feeling like a worthless begging wretch. Fleeting moments, memories, lost loves. I am in the multitudinous ranks of those to whom things happen, terrible and senseless things. And I have no choice but to be stoically born and raised. In discussions, these pieces may reveal the enemy in your face, for the enemy is not the outsider you wish it could be. I shrink from the feeling of it, daring not to name my own truth. Intoxication at the wheel in all countries of the world. Even the most advanced operations rely in the end completely on instinct and the incomprehensible logic and intuitions of a disturbed mind. We never did find Forge Farm. The dream was better than the warped reality. I must have settled and slept the remainder of the night without psychic event, after I wound up in a field hospital, thinking again of Forge Farm. That was the best chance I ever had of being free.